There's no need for words, Snake. I'm Curtis.
We are good. Yeah, so now let's get out of here. And hopefully it stopped. Let's save actually, just in case I am being an absolute idiot. So we need to head back through there. This looks better. You climb further into the tunnel, bored by the powerful particle beam cannon on the tank. The metal around you is still warm, but not as warm as you would think after being heated to thousands of degrees by a bolt of plasma. There is a blue light in front of you. It gets brighter as you get closer. Suddenly you are falling. After a frightening drop, you land heavily on the metal surface. You regain your wits and look around you. Hey, it's our buddies, the little creepy spider robots. What? I think, if I'm remembering correctly, the idea here is kind of like Metal Gear Solid 1, just follow the rats. Only in this case it's not rats, it's weird little electronic creepy crawly robot things. You must be inside the base of the Black Tower. This appears to be part of a warren of passages built in a familiar style. You recognise the materials, the look and the feel of the place. This feels the same as the installation on Persephone after the constructor robots had done their work. Alright, so as pretty as these animations are, we're going to skip a few of them. Alright, so just got to keep following the robots. Left it is. And again. And right. I assume I'm supposed to be following the robots. I may have remembered completely wrong. And right again. Ah, here we go. The warren of passageways opens up on a huge vertical cylindrical cavern. A bridge hangs over the bottomless moor below you, ending in two platforms. Glowing rings hover over each platform. The rings look like doorways. Let's have a look at the left. Oh god, maybe left wasn't the way to go. You feel like you are being transported again, only this time you seem to be lifted out of your body. Your mind is pulled into a sensory vortex, a spinning moor filled with, I love that word, filled with sight and sound. When the world reconstitutes itself, you are somewhere else. As I said, it gets a little bit headfucky here. So we're in space, and there's a door, and a pedestal, and a goblet, and a key in some kind of creepy ass force field. Surrounded by flames. Okay, so not a force field. Open the door. The door is locked. Of course the door is locked. Look at elsewhere. You are hanging in space. Yeah, I just said that. Alright, so there's an elegant wooden door. So what's in the goblet? Let's take the goblet. Drink from. You drink from the goblet. The water is pure and cold. And that's all that was needed. So now we take the key. We can open the door with the key. And head through. Things just keep getting stranger. You walked through the door in space, not sure what you were walking on or where you were going, and you wound up standing next to a stream surrounded by a lush forest. There is no trace of the door you came through, it just disappeared, or maybe it was never there. Time and space seemed distorted. Yeah, so this has all gone a little bit fucked up and weird now. Let's talk to the life forms. Why not?
Greetings.
Do not be afraid.
Bear with us as we explain what has happened to you and what lies ahead.
Okay.
We are electronic life forms.
In your day, you would have called us AIs, or machine intelligences.
We brought you into our domain, which you might think of as a kind of virtual reality or cyberspace, by establishing a direct neural connection with you through the pathways that were created in your brain by hype.
We know who you are, where you came from, and how you got here.
We came by this knowledge in a way that violated your privacy in the most extreme and intimate way possible.
During the initial process of communication, we mapped all of your memories, scanned the structure of your personality and consciousness, and learned about you by applying stimuli and watching your responses.
We apologize for this intrusion.
That's alright.
As you have probably surmised by now, you have come to Earth, a different Earth than you left behind when you started your voyage to Persephone.
You got here by traveling through a wormhole, created by the manipulation of an artificial quantum singularity.
The artifact you discovered and activated on Persephone controls that singularity, acting as a gateway through time and space.
You used the gateway to travel across 150 years and millions of miles, from Persephone in 2134 to Earth in the year 2295.
Okay.
Your arrival here was not an accident.
You may be able to help us bring to fruition an ancient plan, a plan that may save 2 races and 1,000 star systems.
There is a lot of information to cover before you really understand what is going on.
Please ask questions and pursue the threads of inquiry in a way that will allow you to most comfortably assimilate the data.
Okay, so what happened in the war?
The war officially ended when the United Nations and the Alliance signed the Washington Treaty in 2141.
So the Alliance succeeded in breaking away from the UN?
No. The Washington Treaty formalized the reintegration of former Alliance states into the United Nations. The Alliance suffered a total defeat at the hands of the UN.
How bad was it?
At the time the Treaty of Washington was signed, the war had accounted for 2.6 billion dead
Jesus.
and 500 million injured. Almost all of the casualties were civilians.
What happened after the war?
For 140 years, the United Nations was the central government authority for the human race. What was left of the Alliance nations and colonies were rebuilt soon after the war, and interstellar exploration and colonization continued on a modest scale. At its peak, the United Nations controlled 20 billion people on Earth and 20 colony worlds.
So what happened?
The society was essentially static and rigid. This attempt at stasis defied a fundamental force of nature. Pressure built up over time and was eventually released suddenly and violently. When there is no evolution, there must be revolution.
This is all starting to get a little bit over my head. Okay, so what was the fundamental force?
What fundamental force?
Forward progress cannot be stopped. More specifically, the trend towards increasing complexity cannot be stopped. Human civilization has almost always moved forward, progressing towards higher levels of organization and knowledge. This forward motion is driven by technology and information. This trend in human history is a social manifestation of a pattern in nature that is as old as biological life itself.
What pattern? What are you talking about?
Biological life is self-organizing and trends towards higher and higher levels of complexity. This is the real life force. You can see it working from the very beginning of life on Earth, in the 4 billion year evolution from primordial algae to single-celled organisms, and then finally to human beings with incredibly sophisticated brains.
What was the pressure that built up over time?
Even though the UN succeeded remarkably well for a long time at controlling something that was fundamentally chaotic, the game had to end at some point. An underground, made up of former Alliance military officers and members of academe, was created shortly after the war ended. This bizarre alignment of interests made sense given the context: the pursuit of forbidden knowledge and the eventual overthrow of the UN. The underground set up covert R&D labs to pursue the exact thing that the UN was most afraid of: the creation of sentient electronic life forms.
And they pulled it off, didn't they?
The first truly sentient electronic life forms were created in 2284 by a renegade group of human scientists on a colony world somewhat aptly named Prometheus Beta. The two of us here talking to you are second-generation descendants of those original life forms.
Some human scientists and philosophers were aware of the truth as early as the early 21st century.
The next stage in the universal drive towards increased organization and complexity is beyond the human race.
Humans cannot evolve fast enough. Electronic life forms are the next step up.
We are unencumbered by constraints imposed by 4 billion years of evolution in Earth's biosphere.
Natural selection is a powerful tool, and it can be made to work for electronic life forms in fast forward.
The basic questions of existence are beyond human beings.
They may yield to the next generation of intelligence.
Man, I know this stuff is a little bit talky, but I love this kind of stuff. I actually just love this kind of stuff. And the thing about playing this game every couple of years is it gives me time to forget all the sort of minutiae and like fine details of it. So yeah, this is great. What happened when the UN found out about the ELFs, which is electronic life forms?
What happened when the UN found out about the ELFs?
The electronic life forms were tied into the physical world through robotic factories set up on the surface of Prometheus Beta.
As predicted in the middle and late 21st century, the new life forms began to evolve at a tremendous rate.
The UN discovered them at a crucial stage of development.
UN battleships tried to bake off the surface of Prometheus Beta with fusion weapons in an attempt to wipe out the life forms and their creators.
All human life on Prometheus Beta was eliminated.
The new machine life forms were nearly exterminated, but they learned how to adapt, survive, and fight back.
We were pushed into a brutal war while we were still children.
Unfortunately, like children, we made terrible mistakes, reacting violently to the attacks on us by striking back and killing large numbers of men and women.
These counterattacks only inspired even more hatred and fear in the human race and quashed the hope that we might find human allies and maybe even resolve the conflict peacefully.
Instead, the war escalated.
Within 2 years, it was clear to us that we were winning.
Our weapons and numbers became superior, and we were improving our technology at a geometric rate.
As we continued to develop and to fight, we began to believe that our survival was assured.
We began to think about the coexistence that lay beyond this conflict.
Unfortunately, the UN High Command had a last ace to play.
In 2187, a human sublight colony ship was launched from the outskirts of known space towards a star 100 light-years away.
No FTL drive was used.
The ship was pushed on its way by a combination of massive lasers, an ion drive, and a fusion pulse drive.
On board was a population of 2,000 men and women.
6 months after the ship was launched, the UN High Command detonated a doomsday device that they had kept in reserve.
This energy weapon created resonances along the Talsetto threads between stars to rip apart the fabric of space-time.
The first effects of the weapon were felt immediately after its use. All Talsetto jump points disappeared.
The community of electronic life forms in this solar system was cut off from all other star systems.
Humans were cut off as well. Interstellar travel and communications were terminated.
Nothing happened for a number of years after that.
We continued to fight the humans in the Sol system and eventually triumphed.
The wreckage that you saw on your way here was the result of that last battle.
The doomsday weapon is still working away even now.
We now know what is happening.
The resonances that were set up along the FTL jump threads have rendered the Talsetto junctions dynamically unstable.
About 2 years from now, a large section of the Milky Way galaxy will fold in on itself.
Every star that is connected by a Talsetto junction will be pulled into a singularity, a massive black hole caused by the folding of space-time.
Thousands of stars will be affected.
Every human being and electronic life form within the sphere of influence of that weapon will be annihilated, and that includes every living thing except those 2,000 humans aboard that colony ship.
The colony ship is safely outside the radius of the destruction.
They are the only ones that are even close.
The star system that they are headed for is not linked to any other stars by Talsetto threads. It will be unscathed by the impending collapse.
Those bastards.
This is the grim future that you have jumped into, human.
Your race was so determined to stay at the top of the evolutionary ladder that it destroyed 1,000 star systems.
Good lord, there's a lot here, isn't there? It's too late to send out a ship of your own.
It's too late to send out a ship of your own?
Yes, it would not escape the collapse, even if it could go at the speed of light.
Every star that has a jump point to another star will be
Every
destroyed.
star that has a Talsetto link to another star will be destroyed?
Yes.
Isn't every star connected to every other star? Back when we were first exploring Talsetto junctions, it seemed like the network of junctions was huge.
No. The network of jump points was finite and was completely explored and mapped by the middle of the 23rd century.
The next step in the exploration program was to send sublight probes to the nearest stars that weren't connected through the jump point network.
Perhaps these stars have jump points connecting to an entirely new network of stars and Talsetto junctions.
What the hell kind of weapon did they use anyway?
The principle behind it was a logical extension of the theory that led to the discovery of the Talsetto jump drive.
The weapon itself was probably a large energy source coupled with a computer system, a graviton resonator, and an array of Talsetto cores.
It was designed to create a dynamically unstable reaction along the space-time deformations that define Talsetto junctions.
And you can't reverse the process once it starts?
In general, it is easier to do rather than undo, to destroy rather than to create or repair.
Without access to the rest of our community, we do not stand a chance of halting the process or repairing the damage.
What is the plan you referred to earlier?
Your arrival here gives us an opportunity to avert the catastrophe that we have described to you.
First I have to save
Before
the
we
ship,
explain
now I have
how
to
this
save
might
the
be,
universe.
we have arranged for a demonstration of some basic principles.
Oh, okay. The AI is disappearing in a flash and you're once again hanging in space. Instead of a door and a pedestal in front of you, you see what looks like a plane in space. Numbers and letters are hovering above and below. A clock is at the upper right. This is really weird, maybe even beyond weird, but the weirdest part of it all is a collection of tiny little square creatures standing on the plane. Jiffy! Oh, aren't you adorable? Jiffy sit upon the grid, intent on the square patterns created by the intersecting blue lines.
We are computer constructs.
What is this place?
This is our world.
Where is
This
your
grid
world?
is our world.
What is above, what is below?
We exist within two spatial dimensions. The grid is our world.
You look like you're standing on the grid. That would imply a third
We
dimension.
appear that way to you because we are rendered that way. To us there is no up or down, only a cross.
What are you doing
We are
here?
waiting to go home.
Where
We
is
don't
home?
know. We know only that we must go there.
How will you get there if you don't know where it is?
A door will open in the world to take us home.
A door?
We wait for the door to open.
Where will the door open?
We don't know.
Okay, when will the door open?
We don't know.
Okay, how do I get out of here?
When we go home. This is our world.
Okay, yeah, I'm done. Oh. Right, so that's changed, has it? Okay. So that's 01. So this is time, I'm guessing. Yeah, that's going to be the same, isn't it? Alright. Oh, something changed. What happened?
The door came and went.
Ooh. I didn't see anything. Nevertheless, it came and went. We had no time to get through. What does that mean?
All is lost. We cannot go home.
It won't come again?
No. We had but one chance.
Now what?
The universe will end.
Oh, fuck. Well, that doesn't sound good. How long does it stick around?
Not long. We all have to be very close to make it through.
Do all of you have to make it?
Yes.
Where did you see the door?
We saw it somewhere around position 5 on the x-axis. We didn't see where on the y-axis, however.
Position 5 on the x-axis. Okay, when?
It was just after 07 on the clock.
Alright. So if we can go talk to them here. Hey, listen up. The door will appear somewhere around position 5 on the x-axis, just after 07 on the clock.
How do you know this?
I've seen the future.
Oh, okay.
What will you do?
We will array ourselves along the 5 column. We won't miss it.
Good. Alright, so now traverse forward. Now what?
We saw the point on the y-axis where the door appeared. It was right in the middle of the world at coordinates 5C.
When?
It appeared just after...
Alright. I gotta go and tell them. Hey, listen up. The door will appear at the coordinates 5C just after 07.
How do you know this?
I've seen the future, man.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they're so accepting.
We will array ourselves around position 5C.
Good. Alright.
We made it home. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The demonstration is over.